name is Gregory Kan. I'm a poet and programmer based in Wellington, New Zealand. And that is where I still am. I'm at home. I'm in my dressing gown. I'd like to thank Shiny and Amruta and the other organizers for getting me to be a part of this poetry festival. It's an absolute honor. Of course, I'd love to be there in person, but this is definitely a cool way as a workaround, given the state of things in the world. Given the state of things in the world, I am even using Zoom to record this. The age of coronavirus is also the age of Zoom, it seems. This is actually my second time recording this, because the first time, I only have 15 minutes, okay? So the first time I went way, way beyond. And I'm trying to do it in a more structured fashion. I've got a timer next to me. And yeah, so we're gonna go bang, bang, bang. I'll try to be concise. So the topic of my workshop today is Playtime, Writing as Rearrangement. And I'm gonna introduce the idea to you via my little tool called Glass Sleeves, which is a text manipulation tool. And here we're approaching writing as a process whereby you have certain elements that you can play with and put into different combinations, permutations, arrangements. It's a very mechanical part of my process personally. And I think as a point of reference, it kind of goes against the notion that writing is this, that when you sit down to write, you are struck by these kind of divine moments of inspiration or genius, and the poem's like suddenly there and it just all comes out and it's perfect. To me, that's not how it works at all. To me, there are many, many steps in writing. And what I'm about to talk to you about is some of the initial steps. Yeah, how you actually come to these initial arrangements and how you put them together into larger and larger arrangements until you have a whole poem or have a whole book. And it's like cooking or composing music, in my opinion. You know, in those forms of expression, you have components at hand. You know, you have your vegetables, your herbs, your spices, your carbs, you know, your meat, if you eat meat. And as the cook, you're just figuring out how to put them together in ways that are good to you. And same for music, you have a given set of notes and tones and chords and these days samples, and you're putting them together. And I feel like writing, why this is something I'm passionate about, is because I think writing lags a little bit behind in this. You know, again, it's weighed down by all this historical baggage of romantic genius, and I find those things actually quite scary to people and kind of exclusionary. And so I like the idea of making the process more and more transparent so people can feel more comfortable. And yeah, tearing away some of that mysticism. So I'll begin right away, okay? And you get an idea for what this thing can do. So I wrote this thing when I was actually just starting programming. I had already been really invested in different kinds of collage, found text procedures, surrealist procedures, people who were very interested already in just playing with text as though almost it was a fabric that you could, you know, literally physically cut up with scissors, you know, paste down with glue. You know, everyone's done this, I'm sure. And so this is like an acceleration of that. So I've chosen a few poems from one of my favorite poets, Lucille Clifton. And we're actually going to begin by approaching this as a form of reading. So here I've pasted Sorrow Song into Glass Sleeves. And here, what I can start to do is, I'm going to just grab all the nouns. I want to see what all the nouns are. I'm going to remove all the punctuation and pray that nothing goes wrong while I'm recording this. And so this is a way of deconstructing a poem, you know, and I have a sense that when you're reading, your brain is kind of doing something like this. So here we can see all the things, all the entities in the poem. Eyes, children, vaporize, eyes, children. And the next thing I can do is also grab all the verbs. of course, feel free to pause this video if you need to see what's going on. I'm kind of zooming along because, again, I just don't have very much time. I've got 9 minutes left. So this is me getting all the verbs. And that's already interesting, right? Like, she has so many nouns in this small poem and only 2 active verbs. And these things already tell you a little bit about the way the poem moves or doesn't, or how the time works. And as we, if you're someone like me and you like taking things apart to see how they work, if you have a favorite poet, this is a really cool thing to do. You go grab a few of their poems, shove them into glass leaves. There are more ways to deconstruct this, by the way. Again, given time, I'm using the most kind of what I think them to be the most simple and effective ones. So here, I include pronouns in this, by the way. So I shows up. I, kind, life. I, model, Babylon, non-white, woman. I, bridge, Star Trek, clay, one hand holding something. Get the verbs. Get rid of the punctuation again. So way more verbs, actions in this. Celebrate, have, shaped, had, born, did, see, be made, come, celebrate, has, tried, killed, has failed. There's a lot of sense of elegy here, celebration, death, celebration, overcoming, failure, birth. And again, very, very quick, quite superficial in a sense reading, but you can already see what this kind of procedure can get you, especially if I'm looking at very small poems for this example, but if you had a long poem or even a book and you did this kind of thing with it, you could learn a lot. So this is the reading side of things. I'm gonna move on already to, more active ways of deconstructing. So here I'm taking a poem from Sylvia Plath and a part of another poem from Anne Carson. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap the nouns in one poem for the nouns in the other poem. So I'm using this, I have a swap nouns procedure, and I hope it works properly. Sometimes it doesn't, I have to do it again, and I hope I don't have to do that. Is this real? That can't be right. I think I have to do this again. Yeah, see, when you get to see, I can't, this is not one of those polished YouTube videos that I've cut expertly or anything. So I'm taking Sylvia Plath's poem as the skeleton, and I'm trying to transpose Anne Carson's nouns into it. And you can see that there's a lot of noise, right? This is intact because there are no nouns. And you can see that later on starts to get interesting. I just want to check that I'm not, yeah, okay, cool. So these lines are, I crawl like a wheel in morning, over the rolling morning of your mother, to mend the downstairs reading. Now, there's a lot of weird stuff in here, obviously, and a bit to sift through. But what you're doing here is, again, you're taking a text and playing with it. You don't know what you're going to get. And again, this is a very small example. Often I have a huge amount of text and I kind of sift through it, almost like you are sifting for gold, Often it's a lot of noise that you have to work through, but occasionally you find quite amazing gems. And yeah, you know, in a way, maybe I should have rehearsed so I could actually show you, but I feel like that's a little bit disingenuous. This is part of the process. You may not always get something good. And I wonder what will happen if I do it the other way. Okay, so let's take Anne Carson. I'm going to just refresh just in case. We take Anne Carson and we do it the other way around. So we get Sylvia Plath's nouns into Anne Carson's poem. Like barnyard march, tread salted throat, have not been in Lysol before. I was immense skull, the plates and tumuli eyes were sky. So again, you know, you might find some gems. And what I do after this, right, is I have another document where I'm collecting all the gems, you know, all the little bits of gold. I'm putting them all into another document and being like, cool, there's stuff for me to use later on in my actual poems. So I already only have 4 minutes left. So I'm going to try to tie it up. So glass leaves is a very, very simple tool. And the tool itself is not really the objective of this talk. The tool is just a simple way that someone can get started playing with text, playing with language, do go through and look at the whole list of procedures and try different things, because there are lots of really bizarre ones that you can do. And sometimes it blows up and doesn't work. And yeah, anyway, you'll see what I mean if you try it. So again, the idea is not the tool itself, but the idea that you can play with things at hand. You have a book that you like and another book that you like. You can mess with them. You can manipulate them. You can play. And I think the element of play in any process of creation is extremely important. And to remember that there's text and there's language all around you. And it's all at your disposal. And you can do this all in your head as you're walking around, you know, in town or whatever. You're looking at signs, you're looking at advertisements, whatever. There's so much text in our world, you know, online, of course. Like, and I like this notion that language already is a shared medium, you know, and we haven't really been taking it to the limit in our writing processes, I would say. And there are many ways to do this. Again, glass leaves is just one. And I encourage you to think about different ways of, you know, remixing other kinds of text, your text, other people's text, whatever. And slowly you'll see, okay, not only can I do this to come up with cool lines, which is more or less what you get from something like glass leaves, right? You can maybe get like a cool sentence, a cool phrase, but think about what it means to remix two books. You know, what is that? What does that seem like? What if I take one part of a narrative and I take another part of another narrative and I put them together? You can't do that in glass leaves. You have to do that yourself. But these are the kinds of things that I would like to see more in experimental writing. If you're I don't know, if you're a contemporary, like if you're a musician in this day and age, you know, if you're a producer, sampling is already a huge thing. And I'm basically talking about the same kind of thing, right? You sample from different kinds of sounds or other kinds of songs, you put them into your song, you build up layers and layers of these samples. And I'm just interested to see where people can get taking this kind of approach. Again, in contrast to the approach where you just sit down yourself, you have nothing except for like you and your blank page. And most people just, you know, become paralyzed and can't do anything. And I think this is a way to open up, to kind of take some of the pressure off, to reinstate a sense of playfulness, to make one think about in all the modes of creation in the world. Again, like the examples I've given it, you're a musician, you're a cook, you're a visual artist, you're a poet, you're a gardener. You know, so much of this is about putting together these different variables in particular ways, trying to find the arrangements that suit and that help generate more and more possibilities for you. That's my timer. I don't know how much the organizers will mind if I go a little bit over, but I'll try it anyway. And at the end of the day, that's my encouragement for you. Think about different ways to put things together, and think about how much of what we do already in life involves that. And there's no reason why writing can't be the same. You know, writing a poem can sometimes be like making dinner. Anyway, thanks everyone. Again, absolute privilege and pleasure to be able to present this to you. If you have any questions, you can email me. You can see the URL for the website. My email address is here. You can contact me. You can find me on social media. Yeah. Have fun. Good luck. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you again. Bye-bye.